right, let's check back in quickly with our guest, federal trial attorney Alexis Rosenberg and criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor David Bruno. David, I want to start with you. You know, we talk about trials, you have means, motive, opportunity. They have that in spades, the state does. They're honing in on the motive right now, this idea that maybe this election, losing the election, that's the reason he went after him. But I think it goes even deeper than that. What's become clear is that this also had an effect on his family. And we saw how emotional he got talking about his family. And I think all those things dovetail well for the state.
Yeah, sure. And look, motive is not even required. But as you start to make those arguments, I mean, he's distanced himself, right? You could always see when this defendant is in trouble because he becomes uncertain. You know, oh, I don't know when that got on. I don't know how that got on. What about the animosity? You know, at the time maybe, but not anymore, right? He's distancing himself to the areas that hurt. And certainly the prosecutor is building on it as we go. And I want to say, you know, a lot of prosecutors are not good at cross-examination. We've had this conversation multiple times. Prosecutors, they typically ask open-ended questions in the direct examinations. They don't get a lot of opportunities. But this prosecutor is doing a good job. He's hitting the right areas. He's leading him. He knows his evidence, and he's doing a good job, in my opinion.
Yeah, very organized. He's going through. It seems like he has a list that he's working with, going through it very well. Alexis, you know, as attorneys, when we saw that this was going to be a narrative direct examination, we immediately had a sense of why that was. I'm not sure the jury had that same sense, or do you think the jury as well started to ask questions of themselves and saying, why is it doing this way? Is this because the attorney doesn't want anything to do with what he's telling us at this point?
I don't know if the takeaway of the jury was that the attorney didn't want anything to do with the testimony in the same right that that was kind of how other attorneys were viewing it. But I definitely do believe that they watch enough TV and enough court TV to realize this was out of the ordinary. This wasn't a normal thing. And there were probably questions as to why it was happening. I think it was a very bad approach. I mean, it confuses the jury to have somebody on the stand and you don't have the attorney asking the question. I really don't. I think, first of all, in my opinion, he shouldn't have gotten on the stand. But even with him getting on the stand, this is even more confusing and I think even more damaging because the jury is asking, why isn't the attorney? What is going on here? As well as it just, you know, that was rambling. There was a lot of rambling, a lot of unnecessary, even though he is an attorney, which he testified to.
Yeah, and there were no instructions from the judge before they started. He didn't say, hey, you know, he's going to do it this way, don't hold it against him, et cetera. None of that at all. So I'm sure it hit them as a bit of a surprise. All right, stand by, guys. Let's get back into court now for more testimony from Robert Tellis on cross-examination.
So then we have, let's do this. Let me back out.
And
hold on a second. I'd like to now turn to some items that pop up in your phone kind of around this time. So there is this image from May 20th. I'm going to publish that. This was found in your phone, correct?
yes, it was, sir.
You're not denying that this was something actually in your phone?
No, and I can tell you why I did.
I'm not asking that question, but the title of this is How to Push Down Negative Search Results, correct? Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have these kind of inflammatory tweets that you're tracking where they're talking about you, correct?
I was not tracking these. These were given to me by Roberta Lee Kennett.
Okay, so people are sending them to you, right?
Yes.
And then you have this message here to Mr. Kinsley. And just to be clear, that is a message that is being kind of issued out on the 15th, which would have been like that day that article came out, right? Is that correct? Because you had said,
sure.
because the article was dated, the original one's dated 5/16, and we had that conversation about it released earlier, right?
Right.
Okay. So let's look and see what you say here. Isn't it true you tell Mr. Kingsley, I'm working to bring the full truth to light? I guess I want to focus on you're kind of maintaining the same posture that you had with Gehrman, right? About these things, some things are true, none of this stuff is true, correct?
Well, and again, like I said, I'll point out that I did lie in this message because I did not want to publicly embarrass my family further.
Right.
Right.
And to be fair, it's understandable, but so this is something that the potential impact on your family is so significant, you're even telling people in this context like it's not true because that's an important thing to protect. Fair?
I don't think that my wife would have left me, but certainly I didn't want them to have to go through any embarrassment or any pain.
Sure. And I want to focus down here at the very bottom, because I know you said, I was kind of over it and things like that. Isn't it true you state here you have no idea how hard it's been? You say that, correct?
That was that same day, and that was referring to the troubles that I had with the ladies in the office, that no matter what I was doing to try to actually make peace with them, giving them raises, whatever things that still, again, I had to be a cheerleader for the other employees while trying to minimize the damage they were doing.
Okay. You say I'm truly devastated, correct?
And that was again on the same day that I texted Mr. Gehrman.
So the answer is yes?
Yes. Yep. And
isn't it true you also try to reach out to county officials to see if there's anything that they can do to help rein in Rita Reed's behavior?
that I don't recall. I mean, if you got something to show that, as long as,
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. So,
I did talk to HR about how to best handle disciplinary issues, and got their advice and did things appropriately.
Okay.
If that's what you're referring to.
I'm just asking. And so now that brings us to the primary, which is June 14th of 2022. You would agree with me, when that day began, you were hopeful that you were going to win, correct?
You're always hopeful when you're running for an election.
You had gone out, you had canvassed neighborhoods, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were expressing to your friends and family that, yeah, I think we're going to pull this out, correct?
Obviously, you always want to have an optimistic face, no matter what, but I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to win or not.
Okay. But ultimately, you lose. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you don't place second. You end up placing third. Is that right?
Right. All three of us were pretty tight, though, but yes.
Right. And I'm going to approach with what's been marked as stage proposed 377. Does that appear to be kind of the accurate outcome of the election?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's a fair and accurate depiction of those results?
I think so. Like I said, it was pretty close.
At this time, we're asking state permission to admit states 377. Sure. Sorry about that.
There's no objection.
Publishing 377, if we could cue over. So when we look at this, you don't lose by much, do you?
No.
I mean, what, a little more than 2,000 votes, correct?
Right.
Jeff Gehrman didn't write any articles about Carolyn Escobar in a negative fashion, did he?
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, leading up to this election, he didn't do that, correct?
Correct?
He didn't do that about Rita.
No.
Fair to say, in your opinion, if Jeff Gehrman hadn't written these articles, you probably end up winning that primary?
Probably yes.
It had to be crushing, correct?
No, it was disappointing, but again, I knew that my chances were 50-50, so I was prepared for a loss. And I think my conciliation post on Facebook was pretty clear that, hey, you know what? We tried really hard. We gave it our go. But, I'm going to go serve families as a probate attorney again. I'm ready to go back to work. And, and I got a lot of support when I made that post.
Okay. But everything that you work for is gone because of a couple of articles that say things that you don't think are really true, correct? Especially about the work stuff, right?
It wasn't the articles per se. It was obviously Rita and Alicia.
Who got Jeff Gehrman into the fold to publicly tear you down.
They did, yes.
And he agreed to do it.
Yeah.
So now I want to focus on just 2 days later.
All right, we're coming up to the top of the hour. We have to take a break. Thanks to Alexis Rosenberg for being with us. David Bruno is actually going to be sticking around our next hour. Coming up, we're going to continue our special coverage in the investigative reporter murder trial. Defendant Robert